Building 18 out here, you dig? And if you try me again, cause you know I'm hacking that phone that I got, right? I'm in that, it's over. Mama crib last night and bumped gum on me. I pulled up to this, hey, you know that address he was trying to give y'all in his interviews? I pulled up to this mama crib and bumped gum on me. With the straps out, blowing big dope.
Welcome back to your daily dose of scandal and glamour. The streets have seen some wild twists, but this one, nobody saw it coming. Trippie Redd had no idea the cameras were still rolling when he slipped up and dropped the most shocking confession of his career.
No, we definitely got footage at this mom crib. She live in building 18 out here.
Caught in 4K, he's on record admitting to putting a hit on 6ix9ine's girlfriend in cold blood. And the feds are celebrating like their job just got handed to them on a silver platter from the way things are looking.
Building 18 out here, you dig? And if you try me again, cause you know I'm hacking that phone that I got, right? I'm in that, it's over.
Trippie could be facing a one-way ticket to life behind bars. Now let's really break this down because the receipts are insane. The so-called trap wasn't some street rumor. It was all caught on camera, straight out of Trippie's own mouth. He laid out the type of surveillance, stalking, and cold calculation that would line up almost perfectly with Ariella's tragic death on August 17, 2025. When you put the puzzle pieces together with what actually went down, the pattern is downright chilling.
How many just really New York tapped in with me last night, bro? Really went through these problems, bro.
This wasn't random chaos, it was the climax of a years-long intimidation campaign that Trippie foolishly documented himself. The most damning part, footage where Trippie flexes about knowing every move 6ix9ine Circle makes, their houses, daily schedules, even weak spots he could exploit. That kind of intel ain't just casual gossip, that's blueprint material for a setup.
I got paperwork on you, bro. I keep getting the paperwork sent to my DM, bro. Please don't make me expose you all the way, bro. I will post your gay porno. I have no problem with gay people, but he promotes, he says he's not gay.
And listen, this isn't the usual tough talk rap cap for the gram. Trippie was basically delivering an operational play-by-play, bragging like he just finished a military recon mission. When he said, you know that address he was trying to give y'all in his interviews, he wasn't bluffing. He was proving he'd been tracking 6ix9ine's people, stacking details on his family and associates like a man obsessed. That chilling line, we just ain't stupid, or wasn't some random flex. It was proof of careful planning and cold-blooded evidence management.
Wait. So that's where polls and all that shit came from? That one, like...
Yeah, I had flew him out, though, and that's where polls came from. That's where Gummo came.
That's not street-level chatter. That's organized crime playbook energy. This wasn't random hood knowledge. This was straight-up intelligence gathering. Trippie wasn't just talking about neighborhoods. He knew exact building numbers, mapped routines, and documented surveillance like he was running an undercover op. That's not rap beef. That's professional hitman level plotting. But the darkest part comes when Trippie brags about his digital surveillance game.
But the whole situation was just like, I figured out bro did that with that little ass girl, and I ain't like that, bro. My sister was, with that.
And that's where things get terrifying. He openly admitted to phone hacking and spying through tech, giving a crystal clear picture of how Ariella's tragic murder might have been executed with surgical precision. Ariella clocked out of her shift at Icon, New York around 4:30 a.m., got in her car, and started heading home, only to be ambushed and fatally shot multiple times. For someone to know her exact timing, her exact route, and catch her in that vulnerable moment, it screams the kind of digital tracking Trippie himself was boasting about years before.
They have, in the cities, they come from the environments where they adjust to kind of the street codes, the street lifestyle, right? Yeah. So these guys, they're looking at it like, nah, he snitched on everybody. Can't do it that, nah.
When he said, I'm gonna know everything, he wasn't bluffing. That line describes the exact capability needed to stalk Ariella's every move, her work schedule, her late night exits, even her drive home through the trenches. And let's not forget, she was working as a bartender at Icon, New York, finishing a long shift just hours before her death. The precision was no coincidence. It matches Trippie's own sinister blueprint. This wasn't information you could just Google or find scrolling on Instagram.
Put this in perspective and really follow me here. Imagine I would have stood tall, right? Kept it real, did the 47 years right now, right?
Well, you wouldn't be on the podcast, that's for sure.
This was insider knowledge of someone's daily grind, the kind of detail you only get through close-range surveillance or hacking into private communications. The timeline tells the real story. Trippie's wild street threats back in 2018 were emotional and sloppy, but by 2025, the body count proves he had evolved into someone running calculated long-term operations. At first, his words sounded like heated rants, but the later recordings hit different. They revealed a man who'd shifted into a cold strategist, carefully planning and directing moves like he was running a criminal enterprise.
Another TMZ staff member kidnaps you. Is that loyal to you? You're working right now, probably stealing all of the money that you're making right now and gives you crumbs of it, but it's taking majority of the money. Is that loyal to you?
And the darkest part, those recordings exposed that Trippie had built a network of shooters and street soldiers across New York, loyal hitters who were ready to slide on command. Ariella's body was discovered in her car on the eastbound lanes of the Cross County Parkway near Exit 7 in Mount Vernon, New York. And that detail is crucial. Why? Because it lines up exactly with the turf Trippie bragged about having criminal ties in. That's not coincidence. That's proof of ground-level connections working in sync with his threats. And the evidence doesn't stop there. The most damning piece is Trippie's own twisted grasp of psychological warfare. He wasn't just threatening violence, he was threatening to weaponize humiliation, vowing to leak dirt and destroy reputations in 6ix9ine's inner circle. That's not reckless talk. That's the playbook of someone who knew how to break an enemy's body and their spirit. 6ix9ine's emotional meltdown after Ariella's death said it all. He called her my sister, crowned her the Queen of New York, and poured his heart out about how much he loved her, and that's exactly why targeting her hit so deep. Trippie clearly understood the devastating emotional impact this loss would have on 6ix9ine, and the way he seemed to value that pain makes the whole thing even darker. You can literally trace the shift in Trippie's behavior through the years. In the early days, his threats were wild and reckless, screaming explicit death threats on Instagram Live, letting raw emotion take the wheel. But fast forward to the later footage, and you see someone who transformed into a calculating operator. The focus wasn't on random street beef anymore. It was on intelligence gathering, building networks, and planning hits with precision. Ariella's link to 6ix9ine goes way back to 2018, the same year she was reportedly kidnapped by 9 Trey members who mistook her for one of his close associates. That moment put her directly on the radar of violent players circling 6ix9ine's world. So when Trippie's crew started mapping out surveillance, Ariella wasn't just another face, she was a marked name in the files, already flagged as vulnerable. Police confirmed that Ariella's murder was no random act, it was a targeted hit. And that sophistication lines up perfectly with what Trippie bragged about in his own recordings. The way he spoke about keeping footage and documenting his moves wasn't just clout chasing, that's the same evidence management playbook used by serious street organizations, a system designed to cover their tracks while keeping their operations airtight. The murder of Ariella Mejia Polanco was carried out with chilling precision, professional enough to dodge the feds at first, but brutal enough to send a clear warning to 6ix9ine and anyone tied to him. This wasn't chaos in the streets, it was a calculated strike meant to shake his entire circle to the core. The real question isn't whether Trippie had the motive. That's already established with his long history of death threats towards 6ix9ine. The real question is whether he had the means and opportunity. And his own recordings make that answer crystal clear. From bragging about his digital surveillance skills, to flaunting his ties with New York hitters, to exposing how he tracked 6ix9ine's closest people, Trippie had every single tool needed to engineer the perfect street assassination. And when you dig into the timeline of their feud, the evidence only gets louder. The story of how 2 young rappers went from allies to deadly enemies is as shocking as it is tragic. Back in early 2017, Trippie and 6ix9ine actually had mutual respect. They weren't rivals yet. They were collaborators. 2 hungry SoundCloud kids grinding to make a name and secure their bag in a cutthroat rap scene. Trippie even flew 6ix9ine out to his own studio and handed him 3 Pierre-born beats, the very blueprint for some of 6ix9ine's earliest breakout hits. Imagine that! The same man who later became his loudest enemy actually helped give him the sound that launched his career. But instead of cementing brotherhood, that moment planted the seed of resentment and betrayal that would spiral into years of beef, betrayal, and eventually bloodshed in the streets. That infamous studio session changed everything. Out of it came multiple tracks, but the crown jewel was the beat that birthed 6ix9ine's breakout hit Gummo. What should have been a career-defining moment for both of them instead turned into the betrayal that poisoned their relationship forever. See, Trippie was originally supposed to be featured on Gummo. He wanted to hold off, planning to go extra hard on that beat when the timing was right. But that hesitation cost him big, because 6ix9ine snatched the track took it back to New York, and turned it into a viral anthem without giving Trippie proper credit or a dime of recognition. To Trippie, it wasn't just theft, it was robbery of opportunity, a knife in the back from someone he had put on. But here's the twist that made the betrayal even more personal. Gummo wasn't just another banger, it was a diss track aimed squarely at Trippie. Imagine that, 6ix9ine using Trippie's own beats, his studio, and even his hospitality as weapons to launch an attack against him. That level of snake behavior lit a fire of rage in Trippie that would burn for years. And if that wasn't enough, the animosity went beyond music. The breaking point came when Trippie learned about 6ix9ine's 2015 legal case involving the use of a minor in a performance. For Trippie, who carried deep personal family trauma, this crossed an unforgivable line. He made it clear he had seen the legal paperwork himself. The guilty plea wasn't rumor, it was fact. And no amount of money, fame, or potential collaboration could make him overlook it. From that moment on, their feud wasn't just about business, it was personal, ugly, and destined to explode. The feud took a deadly leap from bitter words to real street violence when Trippie was allegedly jumped at a New York hotel in November 2017. Not by random haters, but by 6ix9ine's own 9 Trey crew. This wasn't a bar fight or some drunken scuffle. It was a planned assault orchestrated by a man who used to be his friend. And the receipts? They're undeniable. Years later, 6ix9ine himself took the stand in federal court and admitted he set up the attack, confirming what Trippie had been screaming all along. That testimony locked in one fact. This wasn't just rap beef anymore. This was gang warfare spilling out into the streets. 6ix9ine had officially tied himself to the 9 Trey Gangsta Bloods in late 2017, and during his testimony, he painted Trippie as linked to the rival 5'9" Brims. That revelation put gasoline on the fire. Suddenly, what fans thought was just two rappers trading diss tracks was actually rival blood sets moving in the shadows with real shooters ready to ride. For anyone outside the streets, the depth of this war was almost impossible to fully grasp. By 2018, the tension was boiling over. Threats weren't just reckless talk on Instagram anymore. They were calculated, laced with precision, and backed by actual networks on the ground. Trippie's own recorded statements prove it. He wasn't just venting, he was laying out an evolving strategy, showing off his surveillance skills, flexing his ability to gather intelligence, and bragging about the muscle he had on call. Every word was a preview of something much bigger he was building toward. This part of the story exposes just how deep Trippie's resentment ran. He genuinely believed he built 6ix9ine's entire career only to be robbed of credit, recognition, and cash. That sense of betrayal didn't just sting. It burned into a grudge so heavy that Trippie seemed ready to chase revenge at any cost. What started as a friendship between two hungry kids trying to escape the struggle twisted into something way darker. The bond of creative collaboration morphed into a criminal machine, stacked with surveillance, digital hacking, gang muscle, and systematic intelligence gathering. This wasn't petty industry beef anymore. It was the long game of revenge, crafted step by step over years of planning and network building. What makes this story so unique is the evolution. It didn't just grow out of typical rap politics or label drama, it mutated into what looks like full-blown organized crime, structured to cause maximum pain to the target. When you lay out the timeline, friendship, then surveillance, then the building of criminal networks, the picture gets clear. Ariela Mejia Polanco's murder wasn't some random drive-by. It looks more like the final stage of a conspiracy. Years in the making, with one goal, to crush 6ix9ine by taking someone he loved. By 2018, Trippie already had the means, motive, and opportunity to pull off a high-level hit. His own recorded words prove it. He had the tools, the manpower, and the obsession to engineer the exact kind of precision strike that took Ariela's life 7 years later. Revenge served ice cold, straight from the streets. But here's the brutal truth. As much as Trippie's confessions point fingers, 6ix9ine has stacked up enemies like no other. Over the years, he's crossed so many dangerous figures that the list of suspects is endless. Ariela's death could have been payback from any number of rivals lying in the cut, waiting for the perfect moment to break him by going after the people closest to his heart. The deadliest enemies 6ix9ine ever made weren't from rap beef or petty rivalries. They came the moment he broke the ultimate street code and decided to cooperate with the feds. That single move branded him a target for life in the eyes of the entire underworld. Back in fall 2017, Daniel Hernandez tied himself to the 9 Trey Gangsta Bloods, using their muscle to boost his image while pouring rap money into their operations. For a while, it was a mutually beneficial deal. He got street credibility, they got funding. But when the heat from federal investigators closed in, 6ix9ine made a decision that would haunt him forever. On November 18, 2018, Hernandez and several 9 Trey members were taken down in a massive joint sting by the ATF, NYPD, and DHS, hit with charges ranging from from racketeering and firearms offenses to conspiracy to commit murder. With a potential life sentence staring him down, minimum 47 years behind bars, he flipped. On January 23, 2019, he pled guilty to 9 federal charges, openly admitted his gang ties, and agreed to become a government witness. What followed was historic and catastrophic. His cooperation wasn't just a footnote, it was game-changing, shattering the 9-tray structure from the inside out. During the September 2019 trial of Anthony Harv Ellison and Aljamiah Nuke Mac, 6ix9ine testified for 3 straight days, detailing the gang's hierarchy, exposing inner secrets, and even naming other alleged affiliates like Cardi B and Jim Jones. The fallout was nuclear. Ellison got slapped with a 24-year sentence for racketeering and kidnapping, Mac went down, and the entire 9-tray operation was left in shambles. But the cost? 6ix9ine had created a long list of sworn enemies, hardened criminals with motive, money, and connections, waiting for the perfect time to make him pay. In the world he once embraced, cooperating with the feds wasn't survival, it was a death sentence with no expiration date. And if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share to stay in the loop with all the latest tea. Hit that notification bell so you never miss an update, and I'll catch you in the next video.